Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMolder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And this week, we're going to tackle topics like when memories of your ex make you cry in the shower. Right? How we can heal when we hurt someone, and why taking a bigger view can help us forgive or not. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners. We're not therapists. We have never gone to a single class. I took AP Psych in high school, and that is the extent of my psychological knowledge. So just remember, we're two random people with microphones, and not in any way you're
accredited.
Enlightened. Yeah.
Right. We are not professionals. We are not trained in this. So please take our advice as you see fit. We're only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs on the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. Before we get into this week's check-in topic, make sure to get your tickets to our upcoming live show happening on Friday, September 30th in downtown St. Paul. You can get in-person tickets, the event is also being live streamed thanks to Moments, so you can get your in-person or virtual tickets at justbreakuppod.com. This is an all-ages show, and Sam and I can't wait to see your beautiful masked faces or screened, virtual faces.
Absolutely. And also what's cool about Moment is that if you can't make it at the time of, you'll have access to the show for an entire week. So if you can't make if you can't make Friday night happen and want to watch it on Saturday or Monday or whatever, you can do that. So it's a great opportunity to see Sierra and I live and in action, whether you can come in person or whether you want to do it virtually.
Yeah. And as always, thanks, y'all. We feel so grateful to have such a supportive, loving community. And we love this. We love doing this. We love doing it for you. And we're really excited to do this live show. So this week's check-in topic is inspired by a letter writer. The letter writer is Not Nosy, whose pronouns are she, her, who writes to us from the void. And basically their question is about password sharing and openness in terms of sharing the phone, sharing the laptop. They are very historically open with their partners and their current partner. Will you text my sister back if I'm in the shower, or will you change the playlist while I'm driving? Openly gives their password away to their partner, and their current partner is not reciprocal in that way. Not that they make a big deal out of it, but that they just don't. They're not open like that. And the letter writer is basically I'm chill. I'm cool. I don't want to snoop. I don't need access in that way. But because the partner's not open, it tickles this little feeling of are they hiding something? So I thought it'd be fun to just check in about just general privacy or lack thereof, or the culture or etiquette of password sharing that has definitely, if you think about it, is a totally new thing. I wonder what the thing was in the 70s. Is it house keys?
Or reading each other's mail, I guess? What?
Yeah, open each other's mail. Yeah. Or we are dating ourselves.
Yeah, also, neither of us was alive in the 70s.
As young little babies.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so anyway, just wanted to say that this is yet again another new hurdle that is gifted to us thanks to the rise of technology in our emotional social relationships. We did not have to deal with this 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start. Do you share your passwords or your phone passcode with your husband?
I do. Yes, I do. But I don't know that I did that for a big chunk of our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we do now. But that's because I don't know, we've lived together for the past however many years. So secrets are few and far between in terms of
secrets are no friends or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's important as we think about this stuff to remember that there's no set expectation, right? There's no like right or wrong way to like share your information with people. And I know that like some folks are like, yeah, let's share. Absolutely. And I'll say like in our relationship, I think that Peter was like more willing to share than I was.
Yeah.
But we still don't like share a lot about like what's going on in our phones. Like we don't use each other's phones very often. Like if I used his phone, it would be to like look up a song or something. Like it wouldn't be like, yeah, go through my texts or like, yeah, read through my notifications. It's like we still have a significant amount of like privacy when it comes to our own like correspondence or like our social media, like all of that stuff. And I like it that way because like I don't want to know all of Peter's things.
Right.
Like it's like a lot.
You're not a part of those conversations, and you don't need to be privy to them. And it's a good reminder
I'm like,
that
why are you including me on this text thread? I don't want to be on here.
that is the most Sam statement. I want to be included on more text threads.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to be included in every single text thread.
Anyway, it's a good reminder that our relationships to this sort of sharing can be relational, and it doesn't have to be relational, meaning like maybe that's the wrong use of the word, but like based on each relationship. I don't think that's the right execution.
I like it.
That word, but like, and it also doesn't have to be all or nothing, and we have to carry that within ourselves, both about our meandering into other people's privacy or their belongings, and vice versa. Like, I think that you paint a perfect picture of like an access that's granted after trust is grown, trust like that you're not going to abuse, that Peter's passcode,
Right.
and also this general respect that Peter is allowed to have conversations that you're not privy to, and that right now in your relationship, just logistically, it makes sense to know each other's passcodes.
Yep.
I only mildly regret what I just said because like I don't necessarily think that trust needs to be gained to give somebody your password. Like I think that feels a little like scarcity mindset, like afraid that like it is an inherently bad thing to have someone have your passcode, that they're going to abuse it automatically. Like there's like a fear in there. And like, I just want to say that's not necessarily true. How we always say it's easy to trust trustworthy people. I didn't think twice about giving Willow my passcode, because she treats my phone and my property with such respect. Like I'll say, who texted me, and or like more importantly, she'll be like looking at my phone when the notification goes off, and she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to see that." And I'm like, it's literally Spencer sending me an X-Files GIF, like like she's mindful of how she engages with my personal, I keep using the word correspondence, but like I can't think of a better word,
I love it. It makes you sound like a dowager empress, or like I have to keep up with my correspondence. Like
yes. I need somebody to do my letter writing for me.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, so I think I am in the same boat. The same as in my significant other and I know each other's passcodes, but again, I think it's more about, like for her in the beginning, I think she did it because she's like, I have nothing to hide. I'm a trustworthy person. I just gotten out of a very untrustworthy relationship. You know what? But that fucker gave me his passcode too.
And he was not trustworthy, to say the least.
Talk about grand gestures with fucking no bottom to them that just like fall out.
Which I think is like the whole conversation here, right? Like, is that this thing around access to people's...
Does it symbolize?
It's a symbol, right? And having access to people's phone doesn't actually mean that they're trustworthy.
Oh my God, that is
and I feel like I'm like feeding into all of the conspiracies that people have about relationships. But I just want to say, like, the issue is
But
like,
it's the other way around. You're saying like, just because you don't have the passcode to somebody's phone
doesn't mean that you can't trust them. Right. And so like, and I also just want to say that like, we've talked about this on the podcast a lot, but this sort of unfettered access that we think that we have or should have to people is like a really new phenomenon, right? Like Sierra said, like years ago, what sort of access would we expect from people? And it's not super helpful. And it's not super healthy for many of us to think that we should have access to every part of our partner's lives, and B, live in this world where other people have unfettered access to us, right? Like it doesn't necessarily help us, because privacy is important. Having your own things are important because it helps you understand who you are as separate from other people. And that is not something that I think is really valued right now in this current climate of like, everyone should know everything about what everyone is thinking, saying, doing, up to, looking at, like all of that stuff. And it's like, I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that about you, Sierra. I want to know like what's going on in your life, and I want to know the things that you want to share with me, and I want to have great conversations about what's going on in our lives. But like, I don't want to know everything about who you're talking to and what you're talking about.
Yeah, totally.
And if you're like talking about me, I don't want to know. Like,
which is a very secure point of view, because I was literally just gonna say, I think what is anxiety inducing for at least me, and I don't really struggle with this, but I'm sure I have, is the idea that there's so many conversations going on. There's so many access points to communication. And my little anxious brain could think like, all of those texts are about me. All of these conversations, like it sounds so sociopathic, but like anxiety tells you that there are things happening that you need to be privy to, or else you're going to get hurt, And so now it's not just like, oh my God, my boyfriend in 1975 is talking to his mother about me. Oh God, I wonder what they're saying. It's, oh my God, my boyfriend has a phone filled with 1,000 text messages and 89 contacts, and they're all talking about, they're all trying to break up my relationship. They're all trying to comment on me. I have to respond to, like, I have to be what all 89 of those people need me to be. It is it's a labyrinth for our anxiety to get stuck in. That's what I want to say.
For sure.
All totally understandable. And also like very to the original letter writer, like, I don't think that they're doing anything wrong. I think that this is just to like paint a picture of like, what we have come to assume equates trustworthiness, or what we have come to assume equates like access to, like, what right we have to access over other people. You know what I mean? I don't get me wrong. I'm sure in 1975 there was some fucking hella controlling, abusive people who were like, "I'm going to sit in the room while you talk to your mother on the phone."
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. That for sure.
This is not a new thing. This intrusion of privacy and using the lack of privacy as like a abusive weapon, but also like technology has not been super generous.
No.
Or maybe like a too generous in that avenue.
And I think it's important to remember that like the way that you two are going about understanding who should have access to what is inherently going to be different, because you're different people with different experiences, right? And it's very possible that he had an ex that was like constantly going through his phone, or he really values his privacy because he didn't have much when he was growing up, or whatever it is, right? Like all of these different factors. And so the important thing is not to tell ourselves stories about what's happening. Oh, he's not showing me his phone, therefore he's untrustworthy. Or even he's not showing me his phone, so therefore he must have had a really invasive ex. But instead, like, have conversations about this kind of stuff, right? Like, what are our preferences and boundaries around how we access each other's phones? Can we have a conversation about it? Can I understand a little bit more about why you do this in this way? Not as a way to say, like, it's appropriate or not appropriate, but just as a way to understand more deeply, like, where this is coming from in you. What about access to phone is either alarming or not alarming. And maybe he's not even thinking about it. Maybe he's just like, this is just the way that I've always operated. And I haven't even thought that my partner might want more access to my phone or might want to be able to know my passcode. So I would encourage, this is not a like wrong conversation to have or a conversation that's like invasive or nosy. Like if you can come at this with curiosity and say, here's what I'm noticing. Can you tell me a little bit more about like what your feelings about privacy are, what your feelings about sharing passcodes are? Like that could lead to a healthy conversation where either you understand each other and more and nothing changes, or you figure out a way to sort of flex and adapt and shift towards each other to find a place where you're both sort of stretching, but still within your boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's beautiful. Thank you so much for writing and for giving us this check-in topic. We hope this helps.
Absolutely. All right. Our first letter comes from a pine tree, whose pronouns are she, her, who's writing from a mental, emotional place I'd much rather not be in, with 5 exclamation points. All right. A pine tree writes, hi, Sierra and Sam, aka Sam and Sierra. I'm having feelings and I need your help. I love that. I'm having feelings and I need your help. Thanks for making space for it and being all that you both are. I'm a 30-year-old woman in a long-term serious relationship with another 30-year-old woman. We've been together for a couple of years now, and it's been absolutely incredible. She makes me feel wanted, safe, supported, confident, secure, giddy, and just absolutely amazing. I'm beyond happy. She's more than I could have ever imagined for myself. I love our story, and I adore who she is as a human. We've discussed marriage at length, and I have it on good authority that a proposal is upcoming, insert happy cry. I'm beyond thankful that she wants to commit to a lifetime with me too. Sometimes it even feels like it's more than I deserve, because while I'm not perfect, nothing is, and this is so fulfilling in everything that I've ever wanted. So my question, Sam and Sierra, is why the fuck am I still thinking about my shitty ex? Please help. Ugh. We broke up several years ago. We had a very intense relationship, a total roller coaster. We knew each other for several years before we started dating, and getting together was a slow burn. The beginning was totally out of this world amazing. Then she was so distant, and it was incredibly tough. Then amazing again. And then she left me out of the blue. We were together for 2 years, and in that time, she treated me like a princess or treated me like I hardly existed. If I'm being honest, I never really felt like she was 100% with me. Part of me was always insecure, even at our best, and when our love was beautiful. It felt too good to be true, and that would prove itself whenever her tide turned again. Our breakup wrecked me so deeply. It was one of those can't eat, can't sleep, can't breathe kind of breakups. The worst I've ever had by far. I healed myself in therapy, and thanks to healthy and fulfilling love of all kinds in my life. She and I have talked since and made peace and cleared the air, though I've set a bunch of healthy boundaries on our contact since those conversations a couple years back, and we're really no longer in touch. But suddenly she's back to haunt me. She's in my dreams often. I'm thinking of her when I hear sad songs. She's even popping up in conversation more often, and I'm so fucking sad. I'm crying in the shower and in the car over the pain I went through with her. It feels raw and bitter and awful again. But it's been so long and I've been okay. What's wrong with me? Why can't I just enjoy the love I have with this incredible person without these sad feelings? And what do these sad feelings mean? Is this normal? Is it indicative that I'm totally broken or something? Am I just addicted to pining? Ugh, yikes.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks for your time and energy, even if this isn't the letter that you choose. Spoiler, it is. You helped me through the fallout of that awful breakup and plenty of a tough day since, and I'm forever thankful for your wise words and kind hearts. You've left an imprint on my heart. Sending you so much love today and every Monday/Wednesday and always.
Oh, my darling, thank you so much for writing and for trusting us with this letter. And I just want to start by saying this is so normal. This is so normal. Like, man, the expectations we put on our fucking poor little hearts, you know, to go through a really scarring, emotionally damaging and confusing roller coaster of a relationship in which our understanding of love, desire, acceptance is turned on its head and is totally challenged. And, you know, it leaves us feeling hungry and confused and then starving and satisfied and all of these things, to expect our hearts to just be like, oh, wow, I'm done healing from that. Cool. That all makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm chill. I'm a chill girl,
Yep.
I think this is so normal to feel these things coming up now, even. I have to tell you, I did the most healing about my past relationships in the last 4 years since I've been with my wife on this fucking show, alongside all of you. And that's because through these gracious conversations with Sam, I've come to really understand the shape and form and cause of these wounds that I had from these relationships. And sometimes that requires tapping back into the pain that I felt then with a better and deeper understanding of why it hurts so much. Why does it still bother me? I want to offer you just the simple statement of course the things that happen to us stay with us. And I don't mean that in a weird, I think there's a rhetoric that I'm trying to avoid here that is often used around sexual assault or sexual partners, that the choices that you make or the things that happened to you in the past scar you forever, and then you're forever a tainted, broken thing. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying the things that happen to us affect us, period. Often without our consent. And often way beyond our control, right? What life happens to us, and we respond accordingly. And so, of course, while you're looking at this new wonderful relationship, you're of course going to look at this good relationship through the lens of past relationships. That's just the way we process things, even in good times.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we've been sold a false bill of goods about healing.
Bill of rights.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that was one of my worst flubs.
A false bill of rights about healing, right? Where we've been told that it's one and done. We're just, we do it and then cool, it's done. Great. Don't have to worry about it anymore. And the reality is that healing is so much of a cyclical process, right? That it comes and goes and ebbs and flows. And, I was a poet and I didn't know it. And
you're fired. Spencer, get on the
mic. Everyone will appreciate the change in the tone, in the voices, because Spencer's voice is so much sexier than mine.
Voice. Yeah. Instead, you got two vocal fry nerds over here.
Yeah, absolutely.
With bad laughs. We're getting off track.
But of course, your healing is cyclical. Of course, things are going to come back in weird ways. And I think one of the things that I have found to be true is that often my body wants to heal past traumas when I am in the safest and healthiest places, right? It's
say it.
It's oh, cool. Now you're feeling good? Great. Let's go back here because we didn't quite do it, right?
Stamina and the safety to unpack this now.
Yep. And yes, turns out, I know that we've been through some stuff. We've talked about a bunch of things. There was some other stuff that I was still tamping down. So I'm going to bring it up. Here it is. What are you going to do with it?
Your voice, your body's voice is so I know. It's like a camp counselor.
Yeah, absolutely
so I know
it is.
We had this planned, but actually.
No, 100%. Because I live so much in my brain that it's I feel like I'm a little child who's super excited about coloring or whatever. And then my body's we got to come back here. We got to come back into the body.
We got to come back to the trauma.
And I'm I just want to read my book.
Yeah, maybe you're not the child. You're like the teen on the video game.
Yeah, that's probably it.
All right. Anyway.
No, and so it makes sense to me that you're sort of at this place where you're feeling really secure in your relationship, where things are going well for you, and your body, not in a vindictive or mean way, right? Your body and your heart are saying, actually, there's this thing, and I'm glad we're feeling safe now because I've been carrying this for a while.
Wow.
Right? And I haven't been telling you about it, and now I want to tell you about it. Can we find a way to work through this? And what's great is that doing this type of healing that you've already done in therapy, like offers us different tools and resiliency around being able to manage some of this stuff as it continues to come up. But I'll say that in my experience, like this stuff that sort of feels like it comes out of the blue can be really earth shaking. So like, I feel you like this, like, why is this happening now? Like, what is going on here? But it doesn't mean that you're like somehow broken or that you are like pining too much. It just means that there's something about your relationship, that past relationship, that maybe hasn't been healed or that you haven't spent time processing through. And I know that that's like really disappointing to hear. I think that that's like the biggest thing that I've experienced when like this kind of stuff has come up is like, oh, fuck, I thought we were done with that. Like I did the work. Why do I have to do more work on this? And I just want to invite you to the, yep, that sucks. And here we go again party, right? Like that is part of what it means to be human and part of what it means to have been doing intentional work around processing through some of these things that are coming up. Like at least you know that it's happening, right?
Yeah.
Like you're seeing it and you're saying, this isn't working. So I know that I need to find and do something else for myself.
And I want to offer a couple like redirections or new perspectives on some things you said. Like maybe you're addicted, you said, I'm addicted to pining. Like I don't think you're pining for this person. Maybe you're pining for a version of yourself that didn't allow this. Maybe you're pining for, somebody, the fact, like wanting somebody who hurt you to not have hurt you is okay. That
Absolutely.
Is
yep.
That is the core foundation to so many wounds, is struggling to accept that it happened in the first place. Whether you're struggling to accept that you, quote, allowed it, no blame there, and like not trying to say that that's your fault at all. It's not. And struggling to accept that they did it in the first place, And that's, for me, that's what comes up years later. That's what comes up years later is that like, I can't believe I fucking let them treat me that way. I can't believe they did that. And I said, yep, please give me more. I love you. I can't believe they said that to me. And then I said, I'm so sorry. And I became smaller. Yep. Like there's so much that to me, that's a pining that I relate to. And also Sam's right. Like there's going to have to be some acceptance if you want to start to close, to do the true healing, right? Which is an ongoing journey, right?
Yep.
To say, yes, that is the dynamic. I'm not in that relationship anymore. I am not threatened in that same way. That is what happened. That is who that person that I loved, who they really were.
And I still loved that person even through all of this stuff, right? And you're allowed to be sad about the end of that relationship. Totally. You're allowed to be sad about the way that you felt in it, the way that the blame that you might put on yourself, like all of that is like A-okay. And so I want you to like get rid of this meta emotion that you're having around like, I feel bad that I feel bad, right? And I want you to talk to your therapist about what's coming up in this. What you're feeling sad, right? Cool. Absolutely. Makes sense to me. I get it. And talk about, okay, so what are the tools that we tried last time? And are they going to work in this new iteration of the grief that's coming up for me? Or what else could we try? What are some things that can help me? Because it's okay to feel bad about an ex, even if that ex was shit to you. It's okay to feel bad about an ex 17 years later, right? Like
totally.
That is, and like 17 is like even on the short end, right? It's okay to feel bad about an ex 75 years later. I don't know. Like it all, we are so complicated and we are holding so many different truths and nuances at the same time. And there are different seasons of our lives that we're going to go through where stuff from the past is going to impact us. So you are doing things right, even as this is coming up again, right? You are healing even as this wound may have reopened, right? And you have the capability to continue to heal and to find the same ways, if they're helpful, or new ways to do it in this new iteration of this grief, this loss, this whatever it is that you're feeling in this moment.
Yeah. In closing, I'm going to offer one more little redirection. Mm-hmm. You said, I think about her when I listen to sad songs. Well, you're not going to think about your happy partner.
Yeah, when you're listening to sad songs.
I think about sad things when I listen to sad songs too. I point that out just to like illustrate how hard we are on ourselves. Like the impossible hoops we set for ourselves. I shouldn't be upset. I shouldn't be a song about a sad, hard love shouldn't make me think about my sad, hard heartbreak.
Oh my God, there's songs that I listen to that make me think about exes that I like have very little feelings for.
Yes, exactly. All right, A Pine Tree. Thank you so much for writing and for trusting us with this letter. We hope it helps.
Absolutely. We love you.
All right, our next letter comes to us from Javi Rod, whose pronouns are he, him, who's writing to us from Virginia. My story goes over the span of years, but I feel that my most recent relationship is the cause for my writing to you. In this case, unfortunately, I may be the one in the story who should have been broken up with. I can't say I grew up with what you would call a healthy example of a relationship. Growing up, communication was non-existent in our household. I don't believe I ever saw my parents affectionate towards one another, which ultimately led to their divorce when I was about 10. Fast forward through 2 marriages of my own, a series of hookups, and nights drinking. Here I am now. My most recent ex and I met about 8 years ago, but we were both in different life situations, so there was no romantic interest. But I'll admit, I definitely had a crush on her. In 2020, I happened to find her on Facebook and we reconnected. Let's call her Lynn. We spoke on and off for a few months. During that time, with a little liquid courage, I admitted my crush from years back. She seems shocked to find out, but wasn't really turned off by knowing. However, she was in a relationship at the time and eventually communication fell off. Summer of 2021, she reached out newly single and asked if I was okay with reconnecting. She said she was fine with the friendship relationship. I agreed as well, but knowing we were both single, I became a bit persistent. She was very clear in stating her boundaries and told me while there may be interest, she knew she needed to work on some things herself before moving into another relationship. But as time went on, we grew closer and texting occasionally turned into daily connections all day, every day. Texting led to phone calls, which led to FaceTime. Eventually, she came out to visit me, and man, was that the best time ever. I felt like things were finally looking up. I want to say right away that she is probably the most sincere, genuine, loving person I've ever met. She's clear in her boundaries and is strong in what she believes. Honestly, at the time, I felt like I was in the same place. After she left, we decided to go long distance. It was hard, but we made it work. As we moved through this nice honeymoon phase, we started noticing some big personality differences. I'm a very social person. She is not. I drink. She doesn't. We had different expectations. On a night out, she preferred updates to let her know what I was up to. It eased her anxiety with the distance. I'm quite the opposite. If she said she was headed out with friends for the night, I was okay with her just simply letting me know she made it home safely. I found that the easiest way to reach a common ground was just to do things her way. This was my first mistake. Instead of being honest, I held on to habits that were not what I was comfortable with. 2 months in, I cheated on her and we broke up. We spent the next couple months on and off. I would contact saying I wanted the relationship, but ultimately when given the chance to choose actions over words, I failed. I simply couldn't follow through. I finally made one last effort and committed. I did the things she requested, which on the surface I felt like was doing the right thing. I had trust to rebuild, so I made the changes in my life. Nights out were cut short. Certain friendships were cut off, and we spent most, if not all of our time on the phone together. But there was always a part of me that didn't feel happy. This probably should have been my cue to just break up, but I kept going. I kept thinking, this is good for you. This is the stability you need. Mistake number 2. Finally, after 3 months of what seemed to be a fully established relationship, she asked for one thing. She wanted to be public on all socials and wanted involvement in other parts of my life, family, friends, etc. She felt like she had been patient enough and said that if I was serious, then this would be a way to show her. And honestly, I can't say she was wrong, but like always, I couldn't follow through and we broke up. So now I wonder what really made me hesitate. Were our personality differences so great that I just couldn't get past them? Did I create this relationship with the wrong intentions? I want to say that at no point did I ever have malicious thoughts or want to be deceitful, but yes, my actions proved otherwise. I wonder if maybe I allowed my loneliness to cloud my judgment and pursued her for the wrong reasons. After all of this has settled, I can't help but feel like I was only an emotional leech to someone who only wanted to give me honest love and a stable relationship. I don't like that I hurt her. I'm not really sure what I'm asking for other than maybe an outsider's perspective. Am I just that toxic and didn't realize it? Am I just filling up the void of loneliness? All I know is I hurt someone who doesn't deserve it. I hope this all makes sense. Love you guys. And again, thank you for all that you do.
All right, Javi, thank you so much for writing to us. And I just want to say that Sierra and I have a lot of empathy for how difficult it is to hurt someone and to be doing things that we know aren't helpful for us and to not know why that those things are happening and watching ourselves hurt other people and hurt ourselves and be like, why am I doing this? Why is this happening? And I say this, and I also want to create the space for the fact that your ex is also deeply hurt by this. But I want to say the fact that you are hurting and she is hurting doesn't negate the hurt that she's feeling. So want to say if she wrote in, we would absolutely extend her love and empathy. We are also in this moment extending her love and empathy. But we also appreciate that you are coming to this conversation and saying, I keep fucking up and I don't know why. And it hurts. It's not good. And I don't feel good about it. And appreciate that is like an important step in the process to changing our behavior and creating accountability for ourselves. So thank you for writing and thank you for being willing to share with us what this feels like to be on what might be perceived by some of our listeners and even by Sierra and me as like the other end of the sort of relationship spectrum.
I'm so grateful for this letter. You'll see how in a couple minutes, but like I have learned from this letter. I've learned from the perspective that you have offered me and Sam and our listeners. And I also want to say, like, I see the work you're doing. I see that you're, like Sam said, like in my past, I too have said, I have this behavior pattern in me and I don't know where it comes from. And I don't know why I didn't just follow my instincts or listen to my inner intuition or like, what does that voice even sound like? You know, I keep feeling like I'm the one that fucks up. So then I have to legitimize myself by playing by other people's rules or putting myself in situations I don't want to be in. I see the accountability that you're trying to have in this letter and the vulnerability in even sharing it, you know, because like we don't always get letters that is like, I fucked up. I want to do differently. It's more, you know, it's like Sam said on the other side, which we know is like too much of a binary for the human experience. But,
absolutely. Yep.
This letter has been a teacher to me just reading it. And we'll talk about how in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. So Javi, I would encourage you to look at the book Attached, which is about different types of attachment styles. Or you can also find information about it on the internet, although like some of it is
stay off
is
Instagram.
Better than some of it is better than others.
TikTok. Go to blogs. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't know this to be true because I'm not in your body and don't have your experience. But a lot of what you say in your letter really strikes me as a avoidant attachment style. And it's interesting because I think like the prevailing sort of zeitgeist around avoidant attachment styles online is like, that person didn't call me back, or like that person, whatever, like that person ghosted me for 7 months or whatever. And it's like, yeah,
and they're
cool.
avoidant.
Yeah, absolutely. That person is a dick or whatever. And it's like, sure, those are probably...
This is what I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought avoidant attachment style was like, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to say like, I thought I'm the one that Sam is talking about here.
I think that I also did. If you go back and listen to early episodes, yeah. Before I read the book.
Styles, thanks to our podcast and Instagram, were people who didn't want to commit. I thought avoidant attachment styles were like, people who weren't texting back, you know, or like had bad communication styles. But that is not it. And it's so perfectly illustrated in this letter. Sam can unpack it a little.
Yeah, because the reality is that folks who have avoidant attachment styles still want attachment, right? They still want to be connected to people, and they may still want to have, like monogamous long-term relationships. And what often happens is that it's sort of like yes, this is going to be the person that's going to be able to love me, right? Whereas like anxious attachment styles are much more like, I need this, like this person needs to love me right now because otherwise I'm like not healthy enough. When it's like avoidant, it's like, this is the person that I'm going to find. I'm still waiting for that perfect person who's going to meet all of the perfect expectations. And when I meet someone, I'm going to say, this is it. This is the person. I'm going to put it all in. I'm going to put it all in. And then when things get serious, what happens is that we're like, oh shit, I need to remind this person that there is distance between us, right? Because I'm really scared of that connection. I'm really scared of the idea that this person could somehow have ownership over me, I would somehow have to be accountable for them. That really freaks people who have avoidant attachment styles out. So what happens is that then distance is created. And that might look like, I'm not going to return your phone calls. That might look like cheating. That might look like, I'm not going to put you on social. But it's sort of this idea that like, oh, this person isn't the perfect person that I thought they were going to be, and now I have to be accountable to them, and I don't like that idea. Like, give me some distance.
Yeah.
So, and I will say too that like what also often happens for folks in avoidant attachment styles is that once the relationship is over, they again become convinced that that person is the exact right person for them.
Yes.
And it's like, I need to go back to that person. I fucked it up. And if I can just get them to love me again, then it will somehow I will have the attachment that I'm looking for.
I'm literally connecting the last two letters because the relationship described by our letter writer is so freakishly similar to my last relationship that you and I have made 1,000 jokes about, where, he like heavily pursued me, had a bunch of red flags in the beginning. And I was like, this looks great. Gonna be cool, totally safe. And he made all these like big grand acts of pursuing me, or like grand statements of love and stuff like that, and then cheated on me multiple times. And then every time he would cheat, he would double down on coming back and saying, I got to prove this. I'm broken. You are,
Yep.
I want to be with you. And I'm learning so much, and I'm healing even in this moment, letter writer number one. Processing, I see now how the point I wanted to bring up, other than just sharing this like parallel, is that I think that desire for connection clouded his judgment. Like, I think, like, I want to think that I'm cool and that he would want to date me, but like, I'm not sure he wanted to date me after he cheated on me. Do you know what I mean? Like, he wanted to be a certain type of person who had a monogamous relationship and had connection and had my affection, but he wanted those feelings of that more than actually me, like, and I'm trying to humanize our letter writer and the partner and my ex, to be honest, like, because I kept getting mixed messages from him, because I kept being like, do you want to be with me? And he'd say, yes, I want to be with you. And then his actions wouldn't be able to back that up. But then he would tell this really grand tale. And I'm not villainizing you, Javi. Like, this makes me so compassionate to you, because I think this dismissive attachment style, is that what it's called?
Yeah, dismissive or avoidant.
Okay. Clouds your judgment. Right? It makes it harder to listen to that inner intuition, in the same way that our anxious attachment styles make us we can't listen to our inner intuition because we just need to get the fix of that other person's approval or that other person's love. Like, all of these attachment styles are just making it harder for us to listen to like our inner stir and think, what do I really want? Is this desire to be defined by this relationship or loved by this person a reaction to my understanding of my worth, my understanding of like my value, etc.?
Yep.
This letter has like totally opened my eyes to that experience, my ex's experience. And I feel bad because like I have always said, man, I should have just left him when he lied to me. I should have left him when he cheated on me. But also, here we go, folks. He should have left me when he was unhappy in our relationship.
Yep.
He should have left me. I should have been broken up with earlier. Do you know what I mean? And I wish that for everyone. I wish that for my ex and for me and for all of our listeners to have the inner stability, the secure attachment style.
That trust that we talked about last week, right? That ability to trust our own instincts and to trust our own experiences. Absolutely.
I am literally, Javi, I'm forever changed because you wrote into us. So thank you so much. I mean this so genuinely.
Absolutely. So Javi, to think about like what might be helpful for you to not continue repeating this pattern over and over again. And I think it seems to me like this relationship was sort of a transformation for you where you were able to see really clearly the ways that the behaviors that you're using and saying like, and literally saying like, I don't understand why I'm doing this. And I just want to say like, deeply relate to that idea of like, why am I doing this thing over and over again? And I don't understand why. And so you've noticed this pattern of behavior around sort of wanting to be really close to people, even if that person isn't actually necessarily the person that you want to be with, right? And then saying, oh, and now we're close. So like, boom, let's put some distance between us. Let's make sure that you know that I'm separate from you, that I don't need you, that this isn't a necessary thing for me. Oh my God. Right? Boom.
My mind is exploding. I am sorry to my ex for the number of times I called him a sociopath because I was just sitting here thinking like, literally, like, did he love me? Yes. Like, did he have respect and desire for me? Yes. But like, I was like 6 years older than him and I wanted to get married and have a baby. And he was like in his mid-20s and was like not ready for that. But he didn't have the security to say like, we want different things. So instead he led me on for fucking 2 years, which I'm still angry about, but also like, I love my life now. So thanks. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Sam and I were joking that literally it's this dude. It's because of this dude and our breakup that we started Just Break Up. Yeah. So we have to like say thank you to him. Absolutely.
Absolutely. But you're not going to get any royalties until you finish paying Sierra back.
Ben will request that fucking non-sociopath.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, sorry. I'm like literally buzzing right now. I feel like my body is
I also just want to say
processing all of this new perspective.
For sure. But I also want to say to like our little lovely attached or anxiously attached listeners that this is not an excuse for you to stay with a person who has an avoidant attachment style just because you understand them better. Like
Okay, I gotta process.
Don't write in and be like, I understand that he has an avoidant attachment style, so I'm letting him not talk to me for 6 weeks at a time, right? Like that's not the reason for this conversation.
Okay, so and then this woman obviously has an anxious attachment style because like she should have been like this back and forth. I'm glad that she was like, put me on your Facebook, draw that line. But also, me in this last relationship, I kept setting up these thresholds, these
that he would then fail to meet.
Well, or that he would maintain, but they didn't actually like those checkpoints of like sending me a photo when he came home or whatever other toxic thing I asked him to do to like reassure me that he wasn't going to hurt me again. Those distracted me from my inner stir of like, I didn't actually want to be with him in the first place.
Right.
Fuck.
He was cute though, so.
He was real cute. He was real good time. You know.
He was real good time.
That was me not saying what I wanted to say.
Yeah, no, I know. I know what you wanted to say. Anyway, Javi, back to you.
Okay.
So
I have something to say. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I have like a legitimate thing to say other than healing in real time.
You say your thing.
Okay, if this is not already abundantly clear, from what we've already said, the path to this healing is not going back to this relationship to prove how committed you are or how capable you are of having a committed relationship. Like the path to rectifying this within ourselves is not external. And this relationship, you ask us like, did this relationship end and I just like didn't appreciate her good love? It ended because you're incompatible. It ended because you're not meant for each other. And that's enough. That's enough.
Absolutely. And I think, like I said, I appreciate that you're naming some of these patterns that are happening and saying like, I don't like this anymore. And so my encouragement for you is to continue to name when those things are coming up, like in the moment too, not just after the fact, but say like, oh, this is familiar, this feeling of wanting to not do these things and not follow through. And ask yourself, where is this coming from, right? Like, where did I learn that I needed to make sure that I need to create distance between people, that I am able to maintain these really hard and strict boundaries? Like, what is the wound that's sort of bringing this up in me? What is the thing that is causing me to behave in this way? And what I'll say is what accountability looks like is changing your behavior. And I know that sounds like really intense, right? Or maybe feels like impossible, but I want you to try different things. Like, that's the thing that I want from you. It's like, I want you to do this self-awareness. I want you to do this practice because I want you to be doing things differently out of a deeper understanding of yourself. And I don't want you to use this sort of diagnosis of an avoidant attachment style as a weapon to justify doing things over and over in the same way.
Right.
Because that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to say, look into this because I think it's a well of healing for you to start to do things different, not as, oh, you don't have to worry about your behavior anymore. You don't have to be accountable for it because you have this diagnosis or you have this thing that says you're entitled to act like an asshole because you've been taught to do that.
Yes. Caveat, doing things differently doesn't mean going along with a relational request that feels counterintuitive to your wishes or whatever. And honestly, how many fucking letters do we get from letter writers, both avoidant and anxiously attached, that are like, I'm trying to work through this and I'm having a hard time figuring out what my true intention is, my true desires, because I can't tell if it's a flare up of my attachment style or not. So like, this is a tricky road. And in your future relationship, somebody's going to be like, will you commit to me? And you'll be like, all of my insides are confusing me because I can't tell if it's my attachment style or my true feelings. But guess what? This is a part of your path. This is all of our paths. This is a part of decision making as an adult. And the more conversations we have about it, like Sam says, the more literally like work you do reading those books, learning about yourself, giving yourself a language to talk about your experience, the more cued in to that intuition you will be.
Absolutely. And I want to say, I've said this to our anxiously attached folks, there's also nothing wrong with having an avoidant attachment style, right? There are things that are challenging about cheating, about not committing to things, about like love bombing people. Like those behaviors are not great.
Yes.
But you can exist in the world in a way that works well for you and your relationships with an avoidant attachment style. Whoopi Goldberg will never live with another person ever again, right? She has made it clear she does not want a man in her house.
Oh my God, I love that. I mean, I love that you have that factoid in your brain and you're just bringing it out 200 plus episodes.
So like, it is very possible to have a meaningful, great, healthy, helpful, nutritious relationship with people and have boundaries that other people might look at and say, I would never be in a relationship in that way, right? Like it is possible to do that. And that is only possible through doing the self-awareness to recognize the patterns that you have, the preferences you have, the boundaries that you have so that you can clearly articulate them to people. And so that you're not saying, yes, I want this type of relationship, but actually that really freaks me out. So now I'm going to do things to extricate myself from that. So there is a possibility here. There's lots of possibilities here for really healthy, meaningful, nutritious relationships for you. And those things are going to be more possible if you're able to do this self-awareness work, to know when these triggers are coming up for you and to be able to ask for what you actually need, which may not necessarily look like the relationship that someone else wants from you.
Yeah, totally. I believe in you. I believe in your growth. And I'm so grateful that you wrote this letter. We hope this helps. Absolutely.
We love you.
We love you so much.
All right. Our next letter comes from Honor Thy Mother, whose pronouns are she, her, who is writing from, I wish I could forward my mother my therapy bills, which is one of my favorite places that someone has ever written from. Firstly, I love the podcast, having been listening religiously for about 2 years now. Love all that you guys do. Okay, straight to it. I am a 27-year-old heterosexual female and single. If you haven't guessed, this is all about my dating life. Haha. But please, if you have any advice for that too, throw it in because it's wild out there. I've been putting off writing this for a while, but I'm waiting on my sourdough to rise before bed. So I thought, why the hell not? I grew up in a strictly Christian home. My dad was a pastor. Mom was a pastor's wife / stay-at-home mother. I have 3 older siblings, and we were all really close. For context, we were taught the usual Christian values of no sex before marriage. No boys were even allowed upstairs. And once my sister was told off for lying next to her boyfriend on the couch while watching a movie. She was 19. Cracks started to appear in the family in my last years of high school. Both my dad's parents passed away, and he drifted into a slow depression. He wasn't his charismatic self anymore and started to drink more than the healthy amount. Despite this, he is the most selfless and kind-hearted person I know. I talk with him about everything and anything. Growing up, we often had down and outers, students or backpackers staying with us, and my mom threw herself into these relationships and friendships more and more, with young people mine and my siblings' age. At first, I thought it was cool, but then it started to get strange when she would buy them nice things, spend all her spare time with them, and even take them on overseas trips with all expenses paid, which my parents had never done for me or my siblings. Even when I was 14, I had to pay for my own ticket for a family trip to Germany with money I had saved from my fish and chips shop job. In my first years of college, I knew my parents were drifting apart, but there was not much I could do. We all tried to talk to them, and I wrote them a letter, but it fell on deaf ears. My dad bought a cabin in the outback and started to stay away more often. I had a close friend, let's call him Josh, who was friends with my brother and the same age as him too, 27, and married to a girl my sister worked with. So we all knew each other really well. They started coming over for weekly dinners and were quickly a part of the family. My mom had opened a cafe in town by this time, and my brother got Josh a job in the cafe. Naturally, my mom and Josh started spending much more time together from working in the cafe. My mom and Josh's relationship started to create tension in Josh's relationship with his wife, let's call her Sarah. She raised her concern with me and my sisters. I tried to talk to my mom about it, but she said that she was horrified I would make accusations about her and Josh's friendship and made me apologize to her for accusing her of something so horrible. He's like a son to me, she assured me. I was made to feel crazy. Long story short, they were having an affair, and it all came out 2 weeks before my sister's wedding. Josh was meant to be the photographer, and Sarah was my sister's closest friend at the time. The shit had hit the fan. As the local pastor's family, it provided a lot of gossip for the rumor mill. I had people literally patting my head in the street, thinking they were consoling me. One lady said, "How awful it is this happened. I knew the kids," not realizing that she was talking with one of them. My heart was shattered. My whole family disintegrated, and it felt like a carpet had been pulled out from under me. My parents' marriage was over, my closest friend's marriage was over, and my mom, who was my best friend at the time, had repeatedly lied to me for months. I have never felt so betrayed. The situation got pretty nasty after that. She pulled me into the middle of disputes in inappropriate ways, among other things. We didn't speak for a long time. She and Josh stayed together. I had expressed that as long as she was in this relationship, I couldn't be in one with her. They tried to break up once, and she drank a whole bottle of scotch and ended up in the hospital having to get her stomach pumped. My siblings and I were there for her and assured her if they stayed broken up, we would be there to help pick up the pieces. She decided to get back together with him. Someone from the church heard about her hospital visit and messaged my siblings and I saying that, quote, her blood was on our hands because we couldn't forgive her. It's been a difficult few years. I read the book Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents recently and can see my mother in the emotional anxious type. She has a strong victim mentality and hardly ever owns her behavior. It's always someone else's fault. Time has passed now, though. It's been 5 years since the affair came out, and my pain has faded. I'm not so angry anymore or sad. So, why I'm writing? Well, my mom and Josh just got married, and she has been reaching out. She says she misses me and wants to have a relationship again, but I'm scared. Whenever I tried in the past, she has brought toxic behavior into it. She is an emotionally manipulative person, and I feel like if I give her an inch, she takes a mile. I also feel resentful for the way religion has been twisted to fill me with guilt. She has quoted scripture at me for why I should forgive her. Side note, I don't go to church anymore. As I've started my own life separate to the church, I've also had people from more liberal circles say, love is love, or good for your mom, or young dick forever. Am I wrong to feel mad about their relationship? I am liberal. I just don't like cheating. Those are different, right? Here's my question. Am I wrong to keep someone who hurt me so bad out of my life? For me, it's not the age gap. It's the cheating, the lying, the manipulative, and hypocritical behavior. Is there a way where I could forge a new path? Everything in me says that I should learn from my previous failed attempts to reconnect with her and just move on with my life. My therapist has described it as a carrot dangled in front of me, always out of reach. So why do I feel so stuck? I'll tell you, because I feel like it's not socially acceptable to not have a relationship with your mother. But what if she is the one person who hurt you the most? Is it ever okay to just break up with your mom?
Oh, my darling, thank you so much for writing and trusting us with this letter. It is absolutely okay to break up with our caretakers, family members. I actually just learned something from my new therapist who I've been loving, which she brought up the quote, blood is thicker than water. And she was like, I'm not really like a Bible enthusiast, but that quote is like that's misquoted. The full quote where that comes from is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, meaning the connection of your marriage or your chosen family or these non-biological relationships is actually thicker than the water of the womb, the biological relationships. And obviously we're talking about so wild, right? Obviously we're talking about biology in a really...
literally everything in the Bible is like misconstrued. And it's like, Are you reading the words that are on the page?
Yeah. Is it, are we reading the same book here? Anyway, obviously that's like a limited view of family and biology, yada, yada, yada. And also I too am not like a Bible enthusiast by any means, but pretty poignant for this letter. No?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, this betrayal came from such a formative person in your life, a formative relationship, and it threatened all of your formative understandings about the world, about family, about partnership, about honesty, like your religious education, and think even about like our social indoctrination, like our understandings of parents being married, right? Or like our parents being people who never hurt us. Even our social understanding of how good and bad relationships start, right? Like we think that this is, I don't know this relationship. I'm not in your life. This is not by any means a judging comment, but like we socially grade this relationship as a quote bad relationship because of how it started in infidelity. And therefore it is like a less valid partnership. That is in no way to devalue the pain that that was caused by how this relationship was started. But it is interesting how we code things. And this betrayal of your mother, like you said, it's not about the relationship. It's about the lying and the manipulation. That would shake me to my core because we're talking about some foundational understanding about the world being uprooted.
Absolutely. And I want to say that like throughout this letter, like Sierra and I might be talking more about sort of how you could find a place to shift perspective and find maybe healing or forgiveness for yourself. But I don't care one way or the other if you have a relationship with your mom or if you don't, right? Like, I trust you to decide whether or not you want to or whether or not it's healthy for you. I also trust you and your therapist to figure that out too. Because it sounds like your therapist is maybe a little skeptical of this renewed interest in your mom and sort of creating this relationship with you.
And they know you way better than Sam and I do.
Absolutely. We know you for like 300 words. They know you for however many sessions you've been with them.
Sessions,
yeah. So like, and I just want to create the space of like, it's okay to not have a relationship with your parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, like all sorts of different family. It's also okay to have relationships with those people, even if they're not necessarily nutritious or a good space for you. It is okay to create boundaries with your family members. It is okay for you to give too much of yourself in relationship with your family and then find ways to fill your cup outside of it. Like there's all sorts of different iterations of what family relationships can look like that are based on culture, religion, places that you've been, the nuances and complexities of the relationships between the people. Like, and so there is no one size fits all approach to what it looks like to be in relationship with family.
Yes.
So just want to say that there's absolutely, like Sierra said, lots of cultural expectations around what those family relationships should look like. And
community, like your weird fucking
absolutely
the threat from the church member, like that's so immature and compassionless of them to threaten you as their children. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And those people that were trying to, however good their intentions were trying to either console you or try and blame you for things. Those people fucked up. Like, and
that's like
it's not a reflection of you or the things that you've done or your own healing. It's a reflection of their own healing and their own stuff that they should be working on. Little angry / judgy at the people who have said those things to you. And what I'll say is, and I'm saying this not in a way to refute your experience or to say that you're doing anything wrong. What I'm saying these next things is an attempt to help offer a perspective that may offer you healing and forgiveness in your life, right? Not because I think you're wrong, not because I think your mom is right. None of that is happening here. But I know that for my own stuff, when I'm deeply angry with people, and I'm thinking specifically about my dad, one of the things that helped me heal is to offer myself a different perspective of his motivations and the context that we were sitting in when he did things that were really harmful to us. So what I'll say is, from my perspective, it's important to remember that your mom's affair with Josh didn't end the marriage between your parents.
Mm-hmm.
If maybe it was a catalyst, it may have been the thing that broke the camel's back. What a violent metaphor that I'm like.
We fucking hate camels. And birds while we're at it. Kill 2 birds.
Yeah, we like to kill a lot of birds for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It may have been the thing that like the last Jenga piece. This is better. The last Jenga piece that caused the thing to tumble. But you even said in your letter all of these different things that had happened that had caused the erosion of your parents' marriage. And so, yes, this affair was a symptom and a catalyst of this thing that was happening. But I want you to also remember that there are a million other reasons why your parents' relationship wasn't working and why they were headed towards an inevitable separation. Right? Like, one of the things that happens to us when we're experiencing these like traumatic events or these like bad things that have happened to us is that we get really focused on details that leave out a whole bunch of other things, right? So, and it's an opportunity for control, right? Like this idea of like, oh, if I can pinpoint this one thing that caused this thing, then I can say, cool, this will never happen again. Or cool, that's the thing. So I can focus on that and be really mad at that, as opposed to the horrible reality that is there's so many different things going on at so many different times. And the future is often unknowable, right? All of these different things contributed, and it's hard to say this was the thing that I could have changed. This is the thing that I could have prevented, and everything would be okay, and I wouldn't have had to go through this. And for me, it was healing to remember, right? There's a million different reasons why what happened with my dad happened with my dad, One of them was things that I did. One of them was things that he did. And so many of these things were outside of both of our control. And so all this to say, it might help you to find some forgiveness. Again, not so that you have a perfect relationship with your mom or give her everything that she wants or like never hold her accountable again. But to say, my mom's actions in this were one part of a greater whole that was really hard, that was really challenging for her, for my dad, for all of us. And that was really unfortunate and sad and challenging and awful and all of these different things. To be able to say, and it wasn't just her, it was also the fact that my dad's parents died, which was deeply out of our control. And also the fact that he was struggling with mental illness, and also the fact that he was struggling with drinking, and also the fact that he moved to the outback, and all of these different things. Again, not to blame your dad, but to just name some of the stuff that was happening that contributed to this, so that it can just offer you a different perspective, a different level of complexity that might release you from this story that you're telling yourself around, I have to hold on to this anger and resentment because it'll help make sense of the world. It'll be the security blanket that says, yep, it's my mom's fault. So that's keeping me safe. That's keeping me from not knowing that's keeping me from the nuance and complexity of all of this. That's really scary and frightening because it's unknowable. So I'm just going to make sure that I keep blaming my mom over and over again. And my invitation is to let go of that blanket, even as it is really challenging and really hard to do.
Yeah. It is hard to do. I'm reminded of something my sister said earlier today when we were talking about like some fucking healing journey that I'm on. One of those old things. And it was about, that journey that I'm on is really about trying to identify and redirect some generational wounds that keep being played out from family member to family member. And especially, it's been on my mind since having my daughter. And she said something about that the early stages of healing are the most uncomfortable because you are inundated with new feelings and new information. And that's why we stay stuck. I don't mean that in a bad way. We are all, it's so human of us to want to stay in what feels comfortable. And like, for example, Sam saying, this is all my mom's fault and she's a bad person is a very comforting, easy, concise feeling. Yep. It's a lot more uncomfortable to say my mom and dad had a really complicated relationship. And then my mom, because she's a human, made some really unfortunate, hurtful actions. Yep. That doesn't negate the good experiences I had with her, but it makes her way more complicated. It makes her way harder to fucking deal with. I'm also confused because of my social conditioning about what a mother is. We were so close, and then she manipulated all of us. She made us look stupid. She made us we were embarrassed. We were ashamed of her. All of these. This is a complicated person in your life. And I know you know this. Like, you've been in therapy. You've told this story. There's been years. There's been time where you haven't spoken to her. Like, everything we're saying. We're echoing it back to you that this is a complicated person in your life. And I think to distill something Sam was saying down is, I think, to continue to seek for this relationship to be all good or all bad, or yes, I have a relationship with my mom. No, I don't have a relationship with my mom. It makes so much sense that we want it to be one thing or the other because that's just cleaner. That's more comfortable. It feels better to be like, nope, no access, because if I don't give her any access to me, then she doesn't have an opportunity to hurt me, which we know is not real. We are too messy for that. Like, you could be hurt by your mom just thinking about her, even if she doesn't have access to you. So I know I'm kind of all over the place, but I guess I just want to say, this all is going to feel shitty whether or not you choose to engage with her, because you're trying to figure out the newness of healing, really healing from this earthquake that you experienced in your life.
And all of this is to say, right, Sierra and I are talking about sort of the broader context that your mom is sitting in. That does not mean that she was not hypocritical or manipulative, or that she keeps dangling carrots in front of you and then pulling them away, or that she is not
quoting scripture. Oh my God, back up,
absolutely,
lady.
Or that she painted this story that has sort of placed you all as being to blame for a bunch of different things in her life by her and by other people, right? Like all of that continues to be true, and offering a broader perspective, again, isn't to say that those things aren't happening or that your mom isn't behaving badly, but to say, is there a way that you can take a step back to see a more holistic view around what the causes and motivations for that behavior might be? Not so that you can forgive and forget and say, cool, keep doing this shit to me, it's okay. But instead to say, I know that this is the mom that I have, and so this is how I have to operate through the world without holding on to this idea of, I wish she was different, I wish she was better. And instead say, this is the mom that I have. She is this way because of all of these different reasons. The dissolution of this marriage happened, and it was deeply traumatic, and it happened because of all of these different reasons. And I can know that more fully so that I can make more informed choices was what I was going to say. Yeah. And I know all of that, and I'm holding all that so I can make some more informed decisions about how I want to interact with her and the other people that are in my life, right?
Yeah. Because is your mom ever going to be the mom that you need her to be? No, she's going to be the mom that you have. Mm-hmm. And from that radical acceptance, you can decide, is this someone I want in my life? 20%, 90%, 50%, 0%? Is this somebody, like, if I radically accept my mother for who she is, that I am more empowered to be more authentic in our interactions because I'm not trying to get something else from her. This is fucking hard work. This is your life's work, whether or not you have a relationship with your mother or not. Like, that's the fucking hard pill to swallow for me, is that, like, it doesn't matter the boundaries that I put up with my parents or the acceptance that I have for who they are. I always have to negotiate the child in me that was hurt by them and the reality that they are imperfect people who hurt me, who I want a relationship with, and then also don't want a relationship with. Like, it's just so complicated. And so I'm with you on this. And again, just reiterating what Sam and I said at the beginning, like, we don't care if you have a relationship with your mom or not. And if anything, we want to say, you can always change your mind. You can have one interaction with her and then be like, nope, that didn't feel good. You can not talk to her for the next 10 years and then be like, I'm ready. I'm ready to talk to this person, but only once a week, only once a month, only once a year, right? You can always change your relationship to your mother and to anyone as you move through life. You can change your boundaries. You can adapt them day to day, hour to hour, moment to moment. This is hard. This is, I don't know if I was in your shoes, my path to forgiveness for this. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's the thing I'll leave you with, is just a quick conversation about forgiveness, because I think similar to attachment styles, we sort of paint blanket images of forgiveness that really, like, forgo the actual nuance and personal nature of forgiveness. Yeah. We paint a picture of forgiveness as, like, I forgive someone, which means their behavior was understandable and okay, and they're in my life still. Or forgiveness, we think forgiveness equates peace. When forgiveness can be just an internal thing in a chaotic world, right? Like, you can forgive your mother and still say, our values aren't aligned, our personalities aren't compatible. Like, I'm not interested in being in a relationship with you, but I forgive you. I accept. You know what forgiveness is? It's acceptance.
It's acceptance, for sure.
You know that quote, forgiveness is the release of all hope for a different path. So can you release the hope that your mother acted differently? Can you release the tension in your body that she did make those choices? Can you accept that and get to a certain level of forgiveness for yourself?
Yep.
And not for her, because forgiveness isn't for her. And again, we paint this picture of like, we need to forgive other people. We need to tell them we forgive them. We need to free them of the weight of their choices. No. We need to free ourselves. Yes. How can you free yourself from her choices?
Absolutely. And from the anger and resentment that is not hers, right? That you're holding, that's in your body. And I want to say, too, that you can maintain boundaries without anger and resentment, right? Like Sierra said, you can forgive her and say, cool, and I still don't want you in my life, right? I wish you well over there, right? I wish you happiness away from me. That can be what forgiveness looks like. So all of this to say that this work is really challenging.
Hard.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is not just a one-time thing. It is a forever work that you're going to have to be working through. And I think Sierra and I just want to impart to you that we believe your experience, that we know that the things that your mom did hurt you deeply, and we see them and we recognize that they're continuing to hurt you. And also that you have the capacity to find forgiveness, find perspective, not so that you can offer her some sort of relationship with you or some sort of carte blanche for all of the shit that she did to you, but as a way to provide more space and healing for yourself in your own heart and in your own body, and to release some of the stuff that you're holding around this harm that she's caused you, so that you can fill it up with stuff that's going to be more nutritious for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. We hope this helps. Thank you for writing.
Thank you so much for writing. We love you. All right, everyone. This brings us to the blind date segment of our episode. This is when we try and set you up with something that we think you are really going to like. This week, we want to send you home with...
It's a person and then their subsequent projects.
Okay, cool.
It is... her name is Tara Brach, spelled B-R-A-C-H. She's a meditation teacher, psychologist, and author of a handful of books. Like one of them's on just radical acceptance. And Willow really got into her because there are guided, Willow's really into meditations, and there are guided meditations online. Her website is like filled with great resources. But I've really enjoyed what she calls her talks. That meditation has yet to be something that feels really intuitive to me. Mm-hmm. I'm much more of like a audiobook kind of girl. Sure. Her talks are much more like lectures and sometimes interviews on ideas. So it's not so much like feel your toes, do a body scan sort of things, although she does offer great guided meditations. But there are these talks online or on Spotify or on other players that cover all sorts of things like radical acceptance or navigating conflict. Like, what does it mean to navigate conflict to get our needs met, but also approach it with flexibility and compassion for both you and the other person? Or belonging. I'm just looking at the website right now, trying to find a sense of belonging in a disconnected world, and these are, 10 to 20 minutes. They're broken up into parts if they're too long, and I find them really insightful and a great way to center my life and to honestly enrich my life and this show. I love her insights, and Willow really loves the meditation. So you can check her out anywhere, Tara Brach, B-R-A-C-H. I think Willow listens to them all on Spotify. I listen on her website, which is justhername.com.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. You can like us on Facebook, and you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at JustBreakUpPod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship. Oh, hold on a second. I just want to say I fucking really loved this episode. And I'm really grateful to our listeners for giving us the opportunity to answer their letters. And we hear it in the letters where people say, like, I learn from other people's questions. And I think right now I'm just sitting in my gratitude for that it takes like vulnerability and community for y'all to write in and to learn from one another. And that, like, Sam and I are like learning alongside all of you. And if we haven't said it lately, we fucking love you all so much. And you can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship memes, and most importantly, submit your questions about all matters, your very vulnerable and brave questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can get tickets for our upcoming live show. You can get in-person tickets if you are in the Midwest. Do a road trip, bring a friend, bring a mask, or you can do a virtual ticket thanks to Moment. You can get tickets for both of those at justbreakuppod.com in our live show tab.
Please remember to follow, subscribe, and give us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. And consider supporting us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod. This literally keeps the mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need two random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, producing all magical things by our good friend Spencer Wirth-Davis, aka Big Cats. Make sure to check out his music on Spotify and his most recent podcast, Finding Quantum Quest. And remember, Tara Brach says, suffering is our call to attention, our call to investigate the truths of our beliefs. And with that in mind, I share that negative emotions aren't an indication that you're broken or doing something wrong or shameful. Negative emotions like fear, insecurity, jealousy, they are an opportunity to learn more about yourself, to do things differently, to approach yourself with a deeper, kinder, more gentle compassion. And if all else fails,
just break up.